We kick off with everyone enjoying a game of Pock-to-Pock meets basketball meets insanity. River's intrigued to the point of excitement as she watches them play, while Simon explains to Inara how she's trying to cope with what's been done to her. The fun is interrupted by the proximity detector. Damn cyclists. There's a ship out there and no one's answering the phone, and after the titles, they figure this is the poor man's version of a colony ship, a transport picked up cheap at auction, retrofitted for a one-way trip to the outer planets. Shepherd Book thinks that someone, either the Alliance or them, should look into this, see if anybody needs some help. Mal agrees with him, but for a different reason. Not Shepherd Book's charity. I mean, sure, yeah, they could do their good deeds and all of that. It's just, once they see that everyone's dead, they could do a little salvaging. As they dock, though, we get an image of tubes on the ship connecting to the Serenity, and that's not standard for docking. That's just a little nugget for later. Simon is ready to lend a hand, but is clearly nervous at the idea of using a spacesuit, a reminder of how close they are to an environment that is the opposite of everything that the human body needs, something a doctor would be well aware of in exquisite detail. Some of us have to just get by on a healthy imagination. Looks like whatever happened on this ship happened quick. Dinner's laid out and isn't finished, and things weren't switched off. The ship just powered down automatically. But there are no bodies. It's like they witnessed the tiniest rapture ever. There's a personal log, and when it's switched on, River, who's still on Serenity, freaks out over it. Simon tries to help, but there's no helping the screams of the dead being stuck in your head, so he regretfully leaves because he's needed on the other ship. As you can imagine, Simon is terrified of having to suit up and head over, and is super cautious the entire way until...
Hi.
Yeah, it turns out Jane is just fucking with him. Nobody's here alive or dead, and the atmosphere's just fine. But he can lend a hand with the salvaging. What no one knows is that he's not the only one that came over here who wasn't really needed. River has invited herself to join in. Oh boy, everybody loves surprises, especially in space. Simon is puzzled at why they'd abandoned ship in the middle of nowhere, and Kaylee adds to that when she discovers that the ship is just fine. Mechanically speaking. Well, it was fun. I'm sure that was probably doing something important. Mal cuts away into the locked area of the ship, hoping they'll find valuables. And they do find some. Ration bars laced with medicine. And that's the real treasure. Back in civilization, gold and diamonds may hold value, but on the frontier, it's what's going to keep you alive that is highly valued. Dying while holding a lot of shiny things? That's still dying. Yeah. Ration bars are the difference between life and death.
Nobody.
Except from that, good nutrition won't do much to help against that. Mal knows what's responsible for all of this. No, not that. That's just a crazy man. One crazy man is not going to do all of this. Even the Joker would have trouble pulling all of this off. Jay managed to shoot the guy and tracks his blood trail into the docks where they sedate him and bring him out for his own good. Mal brings him back to Serenity, but tells Simon to drug him. His cattle for the slaughter remark convinces me that's a good idea. Shepherd Book is a bit aghast at Mal's callous comments, especially that the kindest thing would be to do what I believe in medical terms is called the double tap. But it's not because Mal relishes the idea of blowing this bastard's brains out. Mal knows who's behind this. Reavers. A thought so terrifying, even Jane doesn't want to accept it. Reavers terrify Jane, and this is someone brave enough to walk into the seediest ports in the verse in a homemade knit cap and announce his name is the same as George Jetson's wife. Still, Shepherd Book thinks that there's hope for him.
Reavers ain't men.
Of course they are. Too long removed from civilization, perhaps. But men.
Let's all go to the lobby. Let's all go to the lobby.
And I believe there's a power greater than men. A power that heals.
Shepherd Book is probably the most preacher that he gets in this episode. But what should be noted is that even when speaking of God in this pretty overt way here, it isn't about believing in him or changing their ways or anything along those lines. It's about trying to allay fears and remind them that they are good people. This will be easier to explore in our co-review of the day, Safe, because his relationship with faith is allowed to be contrasted with others who claim to know God's will. Spoiler warning, I get to mention the boning of farm animals in that one.
Maybe see what I can do about putting those folks to rest.
These folks already resting pretty good, Shepard. Reaver saw to that.
How we treat our dead is part of what makes us different.
As far as the Reavers go, Mal repeats the legend that the Reavers reached the edge, looked out at the emptiness of the galaxy, and that's what they became. Hence why Mal agrees to cutting down the bodies and letting Shepard Book put them to rest. You don't have to believe in a hereafter to think that treating them with respect is appropriate. To recognize that this form was once home to a person and not so much meat. That's what separates a man from a savage. Plus, it'll keep the others busy while he looks for that thing that we saw earlier. All those little tubes hooking up. Yeah, that was a Reaver booby trap.